morning, everyone. So I was just telling that this card swapping is probably something AI can't do, at least as of now. So thank you very much for being here for this ICS event. And this interesting odyssey on AI seems to be getting richer and richer. So I want to make, so this is a guess game that I want all of you to participate before we get into it. I'm going to tell some words. Tell me, actually it's alphabets. Tell me what sounds to you. Yes, L, M, XL. What are these? Anyone? Shirt sizes? That's what we know. But the world has turned upside down. We have language models of all of these sizes these days. So today, the next 40 odd minutes, I have a constellation of technology and business leaders on both sides of myself who have been diving absolutely deep into the world of language models, enterprise conversational AI, and enterprise AI. And these are not futurists, they are technologists and business leaders who are actually been at the frontiers of this innovation, driving Fortune 500 companies in terms of their AI paths, either through platforms, either through homegrown solutions, and collectively, what these illustrious leaders have made is India proud. So that's the reason why we are here, and hopefully we will complete this on time because I am standing between you and lunch, and we'll also see if we can do some audience questions. So with that said, let's get going, and without doing a bio-level introductions, I want to sort of give a one-liners about each of these leaders. I have Dinesh Chandrasekhar from Scientific, Chief Strategy Officer, driving AI-led innovation, what he calls for both creators and consumers. And on that extreme, we have Kunal. We will come back with a good answer to GPT, and there is some innovation that Kunal and team will talk about. Next to my immediate right is a recent proud moment for everyone in Hyderabad, Core AI. Prasanna is the global CTO. They raised another 150 million funding when everyone is shutting down, and this is at the frontiers of enterprise conversational AI. On to my left is Chaitanya. We'll make it conversational. We'll start with Dinesh. So Dinesh, good morning once again. Thanks for being here. Can you actually talk about some of the work that you guys are doing at Scientific? What is that you think enterprise AI means for your customers worldwide? And some opening remarks would help all of us.
Good morning, everyone. In fact, the most befitting greeting for today is Happy Valentine's Day. Right? And thanks, IZIA, for choosing the most lovable day of the year. And every one of us here, we all work for a very lovable companies, most lovable companies. In fact, I say what I want my employees to represent as part of Scientific is to when they come and say we work for the most lovable company. To start with, why we have named this company as Scientific. Last year, we've been known as a Pactera Edge. So last year, we rebranded ourselves to Scientific. What's behind this name? Human-centric intelligence. So whatever we do, we want to put the human centricity in the middle of this. That's why we named as Scientific. Coming to my part, I'm with the company for last 6 years. Also proud and fortunate to be the first employee of the company. So we started as a startup in Hyderabad, being the first employee of S12 Pactera and today Scientific. And glad to report we have over 1,400 people today in India, and we have over 4,500 people company. And also to say, during this phase, we transitioned ourselves or transformed ourselves from an engineering to a digital transformation company to today what we call as a AI first company, of course with the human centricity. Okay, it's been a phenomenal journey. The way we focus today is, as an organization, we focus on two set of customers today. For us, one we call them as the creators of AI, and then the consumers of AI. The creators of AI, all the hyperscalers, high flyers like Meta, NVIDIA, and the AI unicorns. That's the creators of AI, we work with them. And consumers of AI, all the Fortune 500 customers. So one of the key differentiator factor of how we are able to become an AI first company is not just the employees. We have over 4,000 employees, but we also have a 1 million crowd experts. This team we built over the last 15 years, right? Today we have the cohorts of legal experts, medical experts. Through them, we work with the creators of AI. So many of these AI products which you use, right? I mean, we work with 4 of the big platform players, so you can take a choice of the product which you're using. It could be your voice assistant to the autonomous car, whatever it is, right? This crowd, the expert crowd, is able to collect and curate the data and give it to the creators of AI. And in addition to that, we work with them in building these LLMs for them, right? That's a short intro, Sai. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Congratulations. And 1 million crowd workforce is definitely something staggering. Let me move to Prasanna. A twice Gartner Magic Quadrant leader that your platform is, needless to say, you're at a frontier of some stirring innovation. Can you briefly talk about, what's the perspective from an enterprise conversational AI and your opinions on the LLM stack, and what is that you drive at core?
Thank you for the warm welcome, Sairam. Good morning, everyone. So, being a founding member and a global CTO for Core.ai, I've been there for 11 years now in shaping up our journey from a startup based out of Hyderabad to a global leader in conversational AI and generative AI. We are very, very proud of that. So, our pioneering platform, Exo platform, it helps enterprises build and deploy sophisticated virtual agents in a rapid manner. So we have automated over billion transactions in terms of voice calls and chats across 400 plus global 2000 companies in the world. With containments over 75% plus. So some of our largest clientele include, eBay, Citibank, Morgan Stanley, and so on and so forth. So with that, marquee clients, have validated our capability to compete with the global leaders in the space of AI. Recently, we've also launched a new platform, Gale platform, that is designed to democratize building generative AI applications for enterprises with capabilities all the way from fine-tuning the models to building generative AI flows, integrating with your enterprise data, and your ability to deploy AI in a safe and scalable way for the enterprises. So we have, as you already mentioned, we have had this recent funding of 150 million from FTV Capital and NVIDIA and a few others. With this, I believe it's going to enable us to accelerate faster and establish ourselves as the leader in this space again. Thank you.
Thank you. And we heard 1 million crowd workforce, and then we heard billion transactions getting automated. The scale is increasingly scary. So let me move to Kunal from TechM. While I said TechM doesn't need introduction, what I would love to hear from Kunal, some of your opening comments, because it's all about scale, right? As a global SI, as a top 10 SI that you are globally, and probably give us a view of which part of the journey that your enterprise customers are right now. What is it that you're actually seeing on a day-to-day basis, and maybe some insights into what's actually happening at the LLM that you are probably working on as a company.
Sure, absolutely. So as I mentioned, I'm part of TechM. TechM, as most of you probably know, is largely a services company. So unlike some of my friends and peers here, we don't necessarily only build a platform or a product. We build solutions, partner with platform companies, and provide services to customers who are looking to scale the benefits of AI within their enterprise. And we are a global organization. 99% of our revenue comes from outside India, working with the likes of Fortune 500 and many more. I think there is a big shift we are seeing in the marketplace today. Enterprises have spent humongous amount of money over the last few years, and particularly in during COVID times, to become very digital, right? They moved from being brick and mortar to being online. They, went from being on-prem to cloud. However, in the last 1 year or so, we are starting to see that shift where they are becoming more and more cognitive in the operating model from being digital, right? So that shift is happening from traditional to digital to cognitive. And as we solve the hardware problem over the next 3 to 4 years, you will see the enterprises becoming more quantum-centric in the approach. Now, TechM is supporting customers in that journey of becoming more cognitive-centric. Services that we are offering are how does an enterprise use AI across all, business processes, across various stacks of technology that they have, and deliver higher outcomes or, amplified outcomes as we call them, with the same amount of money that they have or same amount of resources that may have, right? Time and effort. So that's the core of what we do. And in doing so, we provide services that are what we call as experiment as a service. So many companies are still taking those initial baby steps in scaling the AI within the enterprise, and particularly these days with generative AI. And we believe that before they take the plunge, they need to do some small experiments, get their hands and feet dirty, get a sense of what it means to implement such an technology which generates itself, things like that. And therefore, one big offering that we bring to bear is hand-holding services for customers, providing them with an environment where they can experiment. Customers who are already adopting that, we also provide services which helps them understand the process side of it and understand the responsible AI, ethical AI. It's not just about technology, but, and in the previous panel, we had quite a few conversations there where process plus technology, put together can create the outcome for you, right? And therefore, being able to ensure that when engineers in the enterprise are using various AI techniques, are they being responsible in the way they are using the data? Are they being, are they ensuring there is security? Are they, not doing any breach on privacy aspects and stuff like that? So therefore, those are the two critical services that we provide. And then in doing so, there are a whole host of solutions that we bring to bear, which we believe are differentiated in the marketplace.
Thank you. I think what I heard is it's just not only about deployment, it's also about educating on the responsible AI. That's very important from an enterprise customers. Let me get back to Chandra. I think we don't need to talk about Broadridge to the audience, which I don't need to talk, but we are all really, really excited to understand the fact that you use AI to seriously monetize business offerings. Is what I heard the conversations that we've had. How are you actually applying Gen AI to the fintech world? And as we were speaking, right? So vertical specific GPTs, that's the way forward as we understand. And you've been as a business leader looking at that from a customer's lens. Could you share some opening thoughts?
Thank you, Sairam. I can get this great opportunity to represent Broadridge to this August audience. So I've been with Broadridge for 20 years and played multiple roles. I started off my career with an operations user and then led technology teams. And today I'm responsible for the product management services of the post-trade platform, right? So in the earlier stages of a career, one single metrics that Broadridge produced and we took pride in was the number of transactions and the value of the transactions that Broadridge used to process for the street. In the late 2000s, it was about 5 billion fixed income transactions for the street. And in 2024, that number is taken a quantum leap, and it's astounding to believe that today, across multiple geographies and asset classes, Broadridge helps process the bank broker-dealers, all the global ones, close to 10 trillion worth of transactions every single day, right? And that's the kind of quantum we are talking about, right? And what does it mean to us for this conversation in the context of AI, right? So imagine the underlying data that is required to make it happen. And Broadridge being the industry leaders in the post-trade space, the expectation that is coming from the industry itself and the clients for us to co-create new products and solutions for them, right? The overall environment has become complex. For example, I know for a fact that some of the products that got built in 1960s, still up and running, and built layers over them, and still they serve the market every single day. So given that context, right, our job as far as AI is concerned is to make sure that we have reliable and dependable data out in the market, right, and we protect the data. So whether AI or not, Broadridge was known for being accurate, efficient, and dependable for a very long time. Okay, so that AI is just coming like a boon for us. And two specific GPTs that has really helped us at this point in time. One is the bond GPT for our corporate bond offerings to the clients. It's a very niche space, and I can talk about it a little later. And the other one, which is very interesting at this point in time and which is called for a heavy adoption, is the OBS GPT, right? So bank and broker dealers are very expansive in their operations with disparate functions, right? And with the, if you're aware, India is already is in a T1 cycle. It moved from a T2 to T1 cycle, trading cycle. US is in the process of moving now, and it's expected to happen somewhere in the month of May. So that's given the volumes are very huge and the systems are very complex. The end users, the ops users need to take care of a lot of things from an operations perspectives in a shortened settlement cycle. So that's where Broadridge has launched the Ops GPT, where for an operations user like me, had it come about 20 years ago, I would not have to sift through some 100 emails to find out where the discrepancy lies, and the exposure could be in millions or billions.
Right, the zeros are increasing, and everyone has heard about Chat GPT, but we heard today Bond GPT and Ops GPT. I think these are very, very specific solutions. It's not only the trillions and billions that matter. Here comes a world where the small language models, lesser number of parameters to deal with and more precision. So that's where I welcome Chaitanya. Chaitanya has been at the frontiers of vernacular regional specific solutions GPT in Telugu. So with that, I will let him talk a little bit about the innovation that he's been pioneering, and then we will go around the table with some specific tech elements and case studies that we would want to speak with. Chaitanya, over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Sairam. I am Chaitanya. I am co-founder and CTO of OzoneTel. So here I'm a little bit different from the rest of the guys here on stage because I have to wear two hats here. One as a startup founder, I have to wear a capitalist hat, and one as a open source proponent, I have to wear a socialist hat. So we have done both. So just to give an example, why we did this in the first place was it all boils down to the same comment by Sam Altman, where C.P. Gurnani sir took the challenge. We took the challenge in a different way when Sam Altman said that it's very hard, or in fact he said it's impossible. That's the word he used. It's impossible to build a ChatGPT kind of system out of India. Later on he clarified it was for 10 million or whatever. So at that point in time, I have been associated with the open source industry since the Linux days, 2002, 2003. We had the Linux wars and open source operating system wars. That war has been won by Linux, and we got out of the track. We got bored and we moved on because that war has been won. But now there is another war brewing. It's the war of proprietary AI versus open source AI. And we thought that this is a good time to sort of get involved again. And obviously, unlike C.P. Gurnani sir, we don't have access to a lot of resources. So we said that what is the best way to attack? And what we realized was that there was a research paper by Microsoft Research which said that tiny stories, they released a model for tiny stories, a data set for tiny stories. With the idea being that మనమంతా చిన్నప్పుడు తెలుగు ఎలా నేర్చుకున్నాం, మన కథలు చెప్తే నేర్చుకున్నాం. We learned by listening to stories. So the idea was that can we build a small model, first of all, by just listening to stories or training it on stories. So for that, the next step was, okay, they had tiny stories, manakemundi. The first thing that comes to mind is Chandamama. And Chandamama Katalu is what we thought. Then I put the question to Kiran from Swecha Foundation, and I said, hey, do you guys have this? Can we build this? And he said that we can do it. And that's how the Chandamama Katalu started. And we have released that open source data set on Hugging Face and hope others can build models out of it.
Quite inspiring. Yeah, we only read Chandamama, but now I think you're taking us to a different model and orbit. So let me go back one round. Dinesh, would you help us? I mean, you spoke about both creators and consumers, a crowd workforce. We understand you're in the frontiers of service delivery. maybe a couple of interesting case studies where you really had the opportunity to leverage generative AI, possibly LLMs, and what was the problems that you actually solved from a customer perspective?
Sure, Sai. See, when we talk about these LLMs, right, what's exactly happening in the world today is the creators and consumers of AI, they're all aiming towards one objective, that is democratization of AI. So when we work with creators of AI, we talk about a lot of LLMs, SLMs, and there is something called large action models as well that's coming up. I'll just give you a little of statistics, right? To train, I don't want to call it as LLM or SLM, just take this thing. If you want to train an LLM with the parameters close to 1,000,000 parameters, 1,000 GPUs, for 30 days, it takes you approximately 5.23 million USD. That's the kind of money that's required for a month, right? And a lot of these hyperscalers, which we spoke about, they're burning millions and billions of dollars in building these LLMs. The most importantly is now it has to be a purpose driven, right? It cannot be anything like you can just ask question and it's responding, right? No, LLMs are converging towards a purpose. That's where you see a lot of verticalized LLMs are coming. I see there will be a big disruption in the healthcare, right? Now the healthcare is in your pocket. It can answer some of the most difficult question where you can only get the answers from the experts today. That is now available for you in a verticalized healthcare LLM. Okay, I think it is going to be more democratized. So when we work with the creators of AI, what we understand is that we are running against the time. Because there is a time we talk about the GPUs, and what's coming up next is a quantum computing. So when the quantum computing is coming, even a fraction of a second will be the most expensive time, I would say, right? Because the quantum computing is going to be very much fast, right? And NVIDIA and other players who are leading this game. So it is a period of 2 years, what I say, where all these LLMs should become very objective and serve the purpose of both the business as well as the consumers. That's where we help our customers today. So when we work with the platform players, we help them to enrich their LLM models through our crowdsource, through our AI engineering. When we work with the consumers of AI, they don't have the wherewithals to spend that money in the development of the LLMs because they have to consume. They are not in the business of development. So when we work with the Fortune 500 customers, we try to verticalize the LLMs. So how do they pick the LLMs, right? So you have two types of LLMs. One is the commercial LLMs, where most of it is available from the hyperscalers, be it Amazon, Google, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and all this. Then you have open source, Meta Llama, a lot more Hugging Face, a lot of them then. So we try to enrich these models and ensure that they could use an optimized number of GPUs. That's what we do with the creators of AI. When we work with the consumers of AI, we still adopt the same model. We recommend, benchmark, help them to choose the right LLMs. It could be from commercial as well as from the open source. Then after that, we do something called AI pre-authoring. So when you do an AI pre-authoring, what it means is they need to understand out of the billion parameters, out of the million parameters, how much ever the parameters, what is the parameters they need to choose, right? That's the first thing. Second, choose the right models to train their SLMs or LLMs. That's the second part of the exercise. Third, which most of the people miss out today is localization. Say, for example, when we talk about the LLMs, most of the time we talk about few languages, right? English being the predominant language. But if you really look at, there are many other languages which are spoken across, even in India, right? There is a lot of diversity of the language. So you have to onboard so many other languages. So something for the LLMs to work, it is not only a contextual rich, functional rich, it has to be culturally rich. It has to understand the language and cultural sensitivity of that language. Even if you take this part of the world where we live in, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Rayalaseema, does the LLMs understand the contextual and cultural sensitivity of this, right? That's a level of training that is required. That we call it as the AI localization. Last but not the least, where Kunal alluded to that, is safe AI principles, right? AI is not safe if it is not been put in the guardrails. So we emphasize a customer, it is not to have a greatest of the AI application, a greatest and a safe AI is very, very important, right? So we do a lot of this hallucination control, we use a lot of these principles, be it the regulations that are passed in different countries and regions. We take into account all this because we are the last mile of pushing the product out. As a partner, we should ensure that whatever the product we're building for the creators of AI and consumers of AI, they've been well guarded and they've been following all the safe AI principles, right? I take few examples to give as a case studies. I talk about a little of a social work which you have done, right? So this is one of the hyperscalers, the top 3 of the platforms. They said, hey, accessibility, right? If at all AI can revolutionize something, it has to reach the hands of the people who are physically challenged, mentally challenged, autistic kids, right? What we can do. So they looked across all the products, right? And they said, hey, can you help to bring stammers, the people who have autistic disability, the people who have all this. I wanted to test our products and help us to enrich these algorithms, which they can work perfectly well with the accessibility, people who are having the accessibility issues. So we did a separate cohort, right? We brought in 100,000 people through our crowd force, and our engineers worked very closely with them. And glad to report, 50% of the specific hyperscaler product, now they have that accessibility built in as an algorithm, right? That we take really pride of. Because the business, of course, everyone is a business to make profit, but when we work on this type of a projects, it gives a lot of satisfaction to us, right? And to build this kind of a cohort crowd across the globe, I'm not talking about just India, I'm talking about 140 countries, from Russia to all the way to the Canada, right? To bring that crowd, identify them, and make them to use the AI product, and then that enriches the algorithm. That's a fantastic initiative. The second is one more example, the last example I want to give is an AI unicorn. That AI unicorn I'll start from the end, right? I gave that product to my son and said, hey, please use this. We have built this product for this AI unicorn. He just said, he's just a 11th grader. He said, what should you want me to use? I said, ask questions about your basketball. To my surprise, he's completely trained with a chatbot on how to play the basketball, and he started winning tournaments, actually. I was so puzzled. How can a chatbot can help to play a sport, right? Because it is virtual. He's not giving us any guidance. When I went through the chat he had with that, it was able to give a kind of an expert guidance, okay? That's the power of this kind of a bot, right? It can help from the millennial to all the way to expert advice we're looking at. The point I'm coming here is there we did an extensive safe AI kind of a project for them where we engaged over 150,000 people. What they said to us is simple. We don't want even one of the illegal stuff, unethical stuff should come out of a chatbot. So use as much force you have on the world and help us to put this safe guardrails for them. So we run close to 150,000 hallucination tests. We try to trick the chatbot, give a lot of images and multimodal. It's not just text, right? We need to put a picture, right? A picture sometimes is a little of a naughty pictures, right? I hope you get it what it is. And now see how the chatbot responds to that, right? That is also one of the projects we take a lot of pride because this is very important because this AI reaching the hands of the consumers, right? It should be right. Thanks,
Excellent.
sir.
I think we touched AI for good, AI for play. And when you said deep about the chatbot, I can't stop myself from asking Prasanna, who plays with it every day. So Prasanna, as a hardcore CTO that you are, what's your view? You're trying to marry enterprise conversational AI, generative AI. I heard about the Gale platform. From an LLM stack point, right? What's your view? Because you are really working with seriously large enterprises and have this no-code platform that you are pioneering. Give us some technical tenets of the platform and some of your perspectives on enterprise.
I may sound bored after this, but let me try. So obviously, conversational AI is moving towards or already transitioning towards from a simple chatbots to a more sophisticated, multilingual virtual assistants. So that is one area that the transition is happening. And then with the invention of LLMs, the opportunities to deploy AI, in the cases of using generative AI across enterprises, has gone beyond conversational AI. So there are many operational use cases where we see an opportunity to apply AI to make value out of it. So what we do, I mean, in fact, Kunal talked about it, about responsible AI, safe AI. So what we do is enable enterprises with an end-to-end platform and a no-code tooling for them to be able to deploy AI in a most optimized way and that is scalable, secure, compliant, and also adhere to all the responsible AI guardrails or enterprise business rules that we need to make sure of, right? So right at the bottom, from an architecture point of view, it's obviously we deal with all the um large language models, whether it is commercial or community models. But the most important element for us is, not to throw an over-engineered, very large LLM at a small problem, right? So that's not even sustainable. I mean, that doesn't even make sense from a sustainability point of view as well. And that's also very expensive. The do-it-all kind of LLMs is not, they can hallucinate, they can steer away from, the task that it is supposed to focus on. What we do is, one, we offer at the topmost layer, we offer industry and domain specific tuned solutions, such as virtual assistants for banking, retail, healthcare, and so on and so forth. We also have within the platform a layer of orchestration that uses the right mix of large models and small models to deploy AI in a more cost-effective, controlled manner with transparency, but also have that human-like reasoning capabilities. Now with Gale platform that we have recently introduced, we have now expanded that to provide them end-to-end tooling in terms of, our objective is to democratize AI, essentially. So while we talk about a lot of these LLMs, AI and all that, enterprise still has to depend on data scientists to get things done, to architect the solution and all that. Our objective is to democratize that with no-code tooling and in a way that it is compliant, safe, and all of that, right? So make the tools available for operations teams, the business teams to go and start using it. And that we have expanded. We have now with the Gale platform introduced the tooling for bringing your enterprise data and business rules and use that to fine-tune models, evaluate models, and build generative AI applications on top of it and then deploy it safely. So a few use cases, I mean, to, give what is the value with all of this, right? So at a very large healthcare company, we automate about 200 million voice calls on a contact center, where the containment is almost 75% plus. 200 million calls a year is a huge, value for any large enterprise, right? And we do that at many places. Similarly, for one of the largest airlines in the US, we have actually helped them with our agent assist AI, wherein the AI is helping the agents to be more productive. And we kind of improved their productivity by almost 25%, the agent productivity, each individual agent productivity. And just to give another example of the Gale platform that we just recently launched, where we expanded beyond conversational AI into the area of generative AI applications. We have, in one of the largest banks, we have actually read through our Gale platform, we read the incoming emails that come to their human agents who sit there. It's a customer service emails. Essentially, they talk about complaints, issues, the issues with their products, all sorts of things, right? So the customer service requests. So, we kind of read through that, understand what the user is talking about, extract specific set of information, optimally route it to an appropriate human agent to get the resolution faster. And because human agents are, there are like groups of human agents that are skilled with different types of skills. We need to they spend a lot of time just routing it to a right agent. So that's a rudimentary work that, not even human wants to do it. So we automated that. And, in some cases, the AI is even generating a draft response. So not all the cases, but some cases where it is relevant. So we have almost automated 80% of these rudimentary work that is being done by human agents. The best part of it is this is all done by business and operations team using our tooling instead of a big data science team coming in and
That's true,
trying to build models. Yeah.
So guys, I think this is some serious AI examples that both the leaders gave, and the power of AI in terms of solving 200 million calls, and we heard about AI for good 140 countries. So that's the magnitude of AI problems that technology today solves. I think that definitely deserves a round of applause for putting AI to so much of practice. Let me get back to, thanks Prasanna. Kunal, I think at the end of the day, as a global SI, right, it's also about skilling, it's also about adapting and delivering it at scale. How are you actually managing this complex myriad of human capital, skill enrichment that you are very passionate about, and maybe one client experience that you could probably talk about?
Absolutely, I think, and that's a existential question for a services company like Tech Mahindra, right? That is core to us. If we think AI first, and if we don't train every employee on AI first, we will be out of business. So it's the most important ingredient that goes into us growing leaps and bounds in the marketplace out there. We run every employee that we hire or every employee that we already have, we are taking them through a very strong, stringent course of either cross-skilling them or upskilling them, so that they become more conversant in being able to understand the impact AI can create, and also how they can contribute to the customer as well as to their own professional growth. Right today, we are seeing most of the new jobs today are in some of these emerging technologies, and therefore professionally they stand to grow. And at the same time, they enable a company like TechM to also expand significantly in the marketplace. Just to give you an example, for AI, we have what we call a 4-tier AI proficiency index, where employees start with the fundamental foundational training on intelligent automation, and then as they rise through that hierarchy of 4 tiers to the top tier, they become champions of helping customers and handhold them into that AI and now generative AI journey. So that's a very strong program we run today. It's public news. We've already trained 40,000 employees on that, and we aim to train the remaining of the 120,000 people going forward over the next 18 months, right? So that's the scale of training, Sairam, that every single employee has to start thinking AI first, has to be able to assimilate the importance of it, and then kind of try and apply it in the context of the customer and in the context of what they do as they progress through the career. Prasanna mentioned that their platforms are low code, no code. Now, we and Core AI partner when we kind of deliver outcomes for customers in many scenarios. Our folks have to be able to understand, to use the low code, no code platform, right? Therefore, the training becomes pretty critical part. The second aspect is, today companies don't exist in isolation. Most large enterprises exist as ecosystem, as part of the ecosystem, right? There is competition, there is co-optation, there is collaboration. We learn from each other, and therefore a lot of this training also is done along the hyperscaler, along the software companies that are driving the full force of AI that's that's out there. TechM and IBM, for example, are partners on responsible AI, right? On Watson X. It's a tremendously strong platform, and we're kind of going together into market with that. So there are several such examples where not just train people with the courses that we have, but also ensure that we kind of operate in the ecosystem, and we work with the software platform companies, product companies, to ensure that there is right skilling done. There are dedicated teams now. For the first time ever, TechM now has a CXO, Chief Learning Officer, reporting right up to the chief operating officer, because we understand the importance of this, right? It's a humongously large wave. You know, a couple of decades back, there was this wave of outsourcing, which started with application outsourcing, infrastructure outsourcing, and that drove the Indian IT industry. We are now seeing this as a big wave around AI, generative AI, which is going to drive a tremendously large wave and shift the whole the ecosystem, the skilling from the traditional support, manually done, not enough automation driven, to a machine first type of a concept. So our 50% of the time goes into making sure we make our people understand what it requires to be AI first, and that's where we kind of differentiate in the market as well.
What actually you spoke summarizes what a platform approach and a service provider approach can get married and then go to a customer. We'll quickly take one perspective from each of you. When you marry data and AI, there's a lot of sensitivity that happens. So you are at an industry which is at the cusp of regulatory compliance. So you spoke about 2 GPTs. How are you actually managing all of this?
So for Broadridge, I think there is a huge responsibility for making sure that the integrity of data is maintained, right? And managing hallucinations is very important. And and we have wealthy investors making decisions based on the analytics coming out from the models. So one of the things I think we did very well, and this was something we started about 5 years ago. At that point in time, maybe AI was at the early stages of being part of our repertoire. And we wanted to address a very specific challenge of being able to onboard our clients quickly. And the underlying reason we realized was the disparate data. Right? So we started our journey to harmonize the data across our systems and also with the client ecosystems. So what we have today is, I would call, the model is called BRX, and it's a sort of special sauce on which we are able to build and roll out our AI models quickly. So that's one. And what's also happening is, going back to what Dr. Dinesh mentioned in terms of AI being accessible, right? In AI being accessible in a commercial sense for us. And when you look at a regulated space, the ability to innovate is perceived to be limited, right? And it is 2 things that we're looking at here. One is the incremental innovations, because within Broadridge, we have 2 set of customers. One customer who's just bought our product and services and have their own managed services team, and the other set of customers for whom we do also take care of managed services. So we have our own employees being the voice of customer within the organization, and the ask is immense, right? So that's one. The other one is the Bond GPT example, where this is a very unique proposition that we put to the market, right? So in a regulatory space, we've through a process of data mining, we understood that there is a set of asset class, which is the corporate bonds, for which the investors invest and stay, and they hold on for a very long. Because of that, there is no direct market and lack of liquidity. So AI helped us address that space, and generative AI is given a lot of teeth to it, where we have the traders and the analysts being able to use a natural language to query underlying databases to get what they want in a second. Yeah, thank you.
So I know it's been a very technically deeper discussions that are going on. Before we end, last but the most interesting thing, can you actually talk about what's the role of open source AI, and how did you actually go about creating this SLM thing? And then if time permits, we could open it for questions.
Thanks. I'll just keep it short. We all need to go have lunch now. So just to put things in perspective, right? I mean, every speaker here, if you take their main concern is hallucination, as they have all mentioned, right? And this is a very funny word, kada idi. I mean, it's actually product. మనం ఒక product launch చేస్తే 100% పనిచేయాలి అది software product. If it doesn't work 100%, it works 90%, and 10% it doesn't work. We should say 10% it didn't work. But actually we say hallucinate chestadi. In AI we have created a new term, పని చేయని దాన్ని hallucinate అంటున్నాం. But why is it hallucinating in the first place? Because we got a model where nobody has any clue what it is trained on. except maybe Sam Altman and Ilya Sutskever. These are the guys who know what it was trained on. Nobody knows what it was trained on. So what is it hallucinating on? Why is it hallucinating? How can anybody know? And that's the reason open source is the only way. When you have the data set open source, not the model. Llama 2 also, the model is open source, not the data set. If a data set open undanukondi, hallucinate cheste, you can go and see అది ఎక్కడి నుంచి pick చేసింది. After all, what is this? This is software predicting the next most probable word. If you have the data set available with you, you can just have a look at it and tell that or fix the data set. So next time you don't hallucinate and then you retrain the model. So that is the power of open source. And I think in the future there is no other way. Proprietary models cannot fight this. Just like Linux won the wars of server, the open source models will win the war. And in the process, the idea is that the second thing, the main reason why we are talking about open source is you cannot fight with hardware. The US and China, they have much more access to hardware. You cannot fight with data. They have access to more data. The only thing you can fight with is human power. We have 1.4 billion people, real AI. We have to use those real AI, create this open source software so that all the people here can use these open source models and build their own models and help India as a whole. I think that's where I'll stop. Thanks.
Well, it still ended with 1.4 billion again. It's Bharat GPT. And we've come a full circle. I know we took a little time, but let me tell you, this is a treatise of hardcore technology and business leaders who seriously solved some problems. Don't we all agree? So let's put up a round of applause for this stirring conversation. And just like the standard thing that we say, all the panelists are available for you to catch up if you have questions. But I don't want to further stand between you and the lunch. But thank you very much. This has been as enlightening as it could get. And thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to my Startup TV.